Hello, it is week 8, and I just hope you got my message. Apologies for making the mistake on the due date for assignment 3. The assignment in its totality is starting with your sitemap and then going into the concept of a flow and then moving into demonstrating both an individual records like the ones you did in the HTML assignment, like giving those a visual look and feel, but also showing how do all those things interact with each other? How do these words and taxonomies and what I call verbs or navigation, where do they go and how do they change the way someone can experience and find data? Now you're in a situation where you're just not dealing with the scads, mountains of data that you're going to tackle for the final. But hopefully all of this is like ability to just get a feel for this, see what the challenges are, and get some practice in how to tell a story about how organization helps a user experience or helps someone or helps a company succeed. Because I do think that this information architecture, if you're feeling a little bit positive, hopefully, about this skill set. I'm here for that. I just think it's really interesting to challenge. These are challenging problems. All of you have demonstrated that you may have run into or see the challenges, meaning that there is no perfect answer. There's no one way to do things. There's definitely conventions. I like that many of you have hopefully learned from each other the different conventions, but that still doesn't mean that this whole world has been completely discovered and is dull and or boring. I think, in fact, it's still an area of innovation. Just as we're looking at a desktop experience, most experiences now are mobile, which hopefully you can see really limits you in the kind of things that you can do, but it all has to exist, right? There is no shortcuts. There's no way to not do this work in order to create something in a computer environment. So I'm really happy with this. My apologies again. I hope to get these graded soon. I'm more than happy to extend this time if needed. I hope to look at it again tomorrow just to see if everyone got this message and can submit this work to me. Please do look at the rubric, by the way, even though we are moving on. And that is the most important thing. We are moving on to what I consider to be the fun part. Metadata. So ever since you started this, you thought about things like ratings and popularity. They're just so ingrained in how we imagine that the internet works, but you actually have to build these things. And because there's also that plus identity. Having to be a real person is something that actually Facebook kind of pioneered, the idea that you were you. You weren't a fake name or a fake anything. You kind of had to be your genuine self when Facebook first started. And with identity comes a whole lot of different ways to work on context that we have as the subject really that goes all through this. How do you manage context? Now, this week you will all want to pick a service. Now, this service is going to work exactly, hopefully, you'll see that it's exactly like everything you've done. You start with data, you have to organize that data, you have to figure out how did these particular services, and these are just some of my favorites. I'm actually finding more and more services every day that just take user generated content and attempt to organize it. That's basically what it is. So unlike you getting data and having to figure out what it is and what to do with it in taxonomy, these people have to do that, but they have to do it in a way that is very hands-off, right? Like they're going to let you, it's just starting with Wikipedia, everybody or whoever does Wikipedia can go create an entry in Wikipedia. That's what's cool about it. Now, just because you submit work, how do they organize it? How do they help you organize it? How do they reward you is more interesting. Why would you do this? Why would you contribute anything? What happens when you contribute? And all the mechanics behind that are hopefully something you can describe to me, something you can look underneath the hood and give me a description. And that is the last paper that you're going to write on medium.com. So if you aren't used to medium.com, you've hopefully got a lot of different programs under your belt right now. Medium is also could be and is something that you could also analyze. So there's meta for you, right? So how does Medium let anyone write anything, right? And how do they use that ability to actually create more value? So it's really going to be fun, and we can talk about it. So first of all, you just need to pick one. Secondly, we're going to skim through some really big deals. So we talk about rating, comment, and reviews. I will just tell you, I have a video up here about ratings, as well as the course module talks about it and writes it out. So either of those, we talk a little bit about trust here. These are just some fairly questions just to spark some conversation. I want to make sure you understand what your core service does, right? So this might be your ability to go in and maybe create an account and create a record, just to make sure you know they all operate on very a basic model. If anyone's an Instagram fan, that's one in here. It's a picture. So that's all. I just want to make sure you know what it is, because it isn't often these services change a lot and they add a lot of junk. I'm more interested in how they started, actually. So one area that I may describe here, but I'll just say it verbally, is that you can go back in time using the Wayback Machine, which is a thing that shows different services as they started. You definitely want to read up and find some articles about how did they start these. You really sometimes can understand things by doing, but most likely it's nice to just see, like, what were they imagining they would do. And then up here, both static and dynamic information, or information visualization. And the reason why this is a subtopic, it is its own course, which I would love you guys to go and take, because data viz is super cool, but its principles here are, we're just glossing upon it, but it's like basically the thing I wanted you not to do, which is numbers. How do you deal with a bunch of numbers? Most people have no patience to look at rows and rows and rows of numbers, right? They don't. So data visualization is a way to make it easier to understand numbers, and that's why I think the interactive ones are a little even more interesting. But it is just an information architecture technique, but more around qualitative numbers. And that leads me back to here. There's a lot of talk this week about numbers, whether it's rating or anything else, but words and numbers together are super cool. And that leads us to metadata and the next layer of knowledge. How do you make one thing better than the other? Nothing says more than a number, right? First place, second place, third place. Things like that. That's this week. Again, let me know if there's any issues with homework 3, and I hope to get you your feedback on that as soon as I can. Thank you.